Hello, good morning. It's Imogen here with Body Intelligence, and I'm here with my guest, Shay Seaborne. Hi, Shay.
Funny.
Um, so, just in case you don't know me, my background is in the Alexander Technique. Been teaching the Alexander Technique for 16 years now. And over time, I've developed my own particular approach and way of working, which I call body intelligence. And more recently, I've been working in particular with people dealing with chronic stress and trauma. And Shay has been one of my students for quite a long while now, but we've become good friends, and we're also been collaborating this year to offer programs, particularly for people dealing with stress and trauma. And Shay brings a wealth of experience as a trauma survivor herself, as a trauma awareness activist, and all the studying and knowledge she's acquired about the neuroscience and neurobiology of trauma kind of along her journey. So, long introduction, but welcome, Shay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And so we are coming on today to talk about this topic of um, that when you've experienced trauma or even chronic stress, even the good things in life, even good things can feel scary. Um, so, yeah. Um, so there's this association that's kind of can be made now that even something good is associated with um, bad things. Let's put it in
Mhm.
very simple terms. So, can you just explain a bit more about that and why it happens, and maybe a little bit about how it's played out for you personally?
Mhm. Well, when our early environment is confusing, we get confused. If we're taught that affection often means physical abuse, then we link those two in not just in our minds, but in our nervous system.
Mm,
The early environment teaches our nervous system how to be, what is safe, what is not. And if our environment's very unsafe, we never feel safe. And then almost nothing feels actually safe, even the positive things. A chaotic or abusive environment often involves multiple losses, and we may associate anything good with uh, the other shoe dropping, the loss that is certain to come.
yeah.
And that becomes our nervous system's viewpoint. It's self-protective to say, oh, well, I can't enjoy anything good because I know it's going to be too much of a loss and I can't handle
Yeah.
that. So,
Like you can't trust that the good thing is actually a good thing.
mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
because especially in my particular experience, a good thing was often a hook. It was the bait. Um,
Mm,
for a hook that I couldn't get off of, that was, very dangerous. So um,
mm,
I over associate, I falsely associate all sorts of things.
mm.
But again, I'm not blaming myself. This was a survival skill. Um, and,
Absolutely.
and for me, a significant one is gratitude and grief. I experienced both of those around having briefly and losing my granddaddy, the only adult in my life who actually showed me that I deserved to be here.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
and that was just such a horrific experience for me to have that, and then poof, it was gone
gone.
forever, um, through a cruel act. It wasn't, he didn't just die. My father,
Oh,
took me away from him. So when I'd been living there with him, and just I had loved that life, so it was really hard. And so I
yeah.
associated the gratitude and the grief, and never was allowed to experience either of those, much less,
Mm,
express it. It was just not
mhm.
done in the family. You're just supposed to be the right level of quiet and pretend happy. So
Mm,
so they were both very strong feelings that I didn't know how to navigate, and my environment didn't teach me So they both became dangerous just by the fact that they were so strong, and I couldn't tolerate either.
Yeah. So the big question is, what can you do about that? How what has helped you feel more gratitude, for instance, in this situation, or joy? I know joy has felt dangerous for very similar reasons, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, um,
In a word, titration, but in
do you
body
want to?
intelligence language, 17 steps.
So
In
both of those terms may
English.
be gobbledygook to our viewers. So what is titration? Do you want to just?
In this context, it means taking things in little tiny bits.
Mm,
That's how we rewire our nervous system. Small, frequent, little tiny bits, steady, 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 like a drip, drip, drip infusion. Um,
mm,
and that's not how I experienced either of those emotions. It was, pow. So,
yeah,
as working with you and the body intelligence practice of 17 steps, I realized that actually is a titration exercise, or it can be, and,
yes,
and it can be intentionally used for that, in different ways. It's just so fascinating how something seemingly so simple can have such a profound effect on how we become inside.
yeah,
So I realized that when we do that, it's actually titrating, and we've used 17 steps with the thought, um, gratitude, and another time with grief, and uh, it really helped me to um, feel each of those in a tiny way that was safe. And I realized that's what the bottom line issue is, that there was a disintegration. Integration is the linkage of differentiated parts. And without integration, you have either chaos, rigidity, or you swing back and forth between them. And
sure,
and so that described my internal state. So I needed to differentiate those two feelings so that I could then, um, connect them. So, and I realized that 17 steps helped me do that this much at a time, which is
yeah.
not overwhelming to my nervous system. And it actually is actually fun because it works so quickly. It's just amazing. I mean, you've seen how we've done it. Sometimes we've done the 17 steps twice, and you see the reaction,
Mm-hmm.
and how the second time we do it, everything is just so much more relaxed.
Yeah. So yes. So to just briefly, I want to acknowledge that I didn't make up 17 steps myself. That it is comes from another Alexander teacher, Mio Morales, and his Primal Alexander work. This way of using it may be particularly ours or mine, and it really just provides a way to touch in, like Shay said, in very safely and tiny way into um in this case it was a word that's associated with a feeling and emotion, but it could be something else,
Mhm.
and just being curious and seeing what happens to you. But we're also touching in and out, we'll call it just for now coming back to ease,
Mhm.
and that is a skill that's kind of learned ahead of time to do some constructive thinking, we call it, that helps you be a little bit more at ease in yourself, so that you're just touching in and out, but able to come back to this little bit more balanced state in between.
And that is so important for trauma survivors. Uh, it's really these practices, and developing the skill of being able to touch in and touch out allows me to be in charge of my nervous system to a much larger degree. Not,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still have my hijacks and all, but
Uh,
yeah, and I can choose when I want to touch in and out. Like,
mhm.
I can't just ignore this work. It's in my body, and it makes itself known all the time. So I need to work with it, and so I set aside time every day, 2 or 3 times a day, to do a little practice where I touch in and out and give myself this little bit of witnessing and compassion for the trauma that's still there in a manageable way that isn't overwhelming. and I don't have as many flashbacks because I don't need them. My body isn't that desperate to express the trauma because I'm releasing it in little tiny bits that aren't overwhelming.
Oh, that's really interesting. And I'm really pleased to hear that. So you kind of created your own little practice that's sort of related to the 17 steps process, with particularly those two emotions that you mentioned, gratitude and grief, and both are important emotions. But of course, gratitude is one that you might really want to be able to um, feel and express. And grief comes to us all at times, and we need to know that that too will pass, and there are ups and downs, and so tell us what you created. Yeah.
Well, I kind of like ripped the steps off the 17 steps and made them out different. Basically, I decided to titrate, instead of titrating one word like we normally do with 17 steps, I would titrate both. Well, I did that initially, and it was just too much to go from gratitude to grief quickly. It was like dysregulating. So I thought, well, what if I put ease in between each one of those and see what happens? And it changed things so much. It's really remarkable how much easier it makes it to touch into those, and they feel safe now. Not completely, but
a lot safer.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say is we could just do a kind of very mini demo of what you're describing. There's not as much background, obviously, and this is something you've built up to being able to do. But I think it would give people a sense of it.
Okay, I'm curious.
Are you up for that?
Yeah. See what happens.
So basically, you'll just hear me say these words to Shay, and she's just touching in and out. And yeah, well, let's see, just a very mini version, and just let's see what happens. So we'll start with ease, gratitude, ease, grief, ease, gratitude, ease, grief, ease, ease. Give you another little ease on the end of our little mini demo. So obviously it's a little bit stranger not doing it in either the privacy of your home or in one of our little groups that you're part of, or part of running now, where it's a very kind of safe container that this is, going out into the world. So, yeah.
Anybody who can't handle it can click delete.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was that? What happened then?
I was actually a little surprised at the strength of my reactions to both, because I actually cheated this morning. I practiced it just a little bit just to see, and it felt remarkably safe. So maybe part of it was, like you said, the public aspect of it.
Yeah, I think
group
our adrenaline's a little higher just simply by doing a live video, right? So
yeah. So it's hard to say what the factors are, but it did surprise me. But also, I really noticed how much they felt different from each other. They were both strong, but they were different from each other. And that was really nice to be able to identify them.
Rather than having kind of lumped together in this. Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome. And that kind of goes hand in hand with this phenomenon, that these unexpected responses that can sometimes teach us the most. And it's really important well, really with everything that I teach and we do, but maybe especially so with 17 steps, to go into it with curiosity and just
Mhm.
this kind of wonder what happens to me when I think about this thing just for a moment. And we can notice on a physical level that can be really useful information. Oh gosh, I really tense up when I hear that word,
Mhm.
you know. Um, or you could have a big emotional response, or a very, very small, there's this whole range. And or thoughts can come up. We have kind of cognitive responses like,
Mhm.
oh, make connections. But again, it's this touching in and out, and like unexpected things can teach us a lot.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
isn't that wonderful that touching in and out makes it feel safer to experience the unexpected
Yeah.
and to go into it curious?
Yeah, and I think when we have more information about ourselves and our responses, that's empowering in and of
Mhm.
itself, right? So, yeah. Is there anything else you want to kind of say about this topic of um, when good things can feel scary? Yeah. Um,
It just that it's really sad that they can, and that everybody who experiences that needs to know that they don't have to be that way. They can
yeah.
learn through some simple practices that you do, in the privacy of your home, to tolerate and actually learn to enjoy these uh, aspects of being human.
So, would the kind of range of what you're calling, I mean, a good thing, anything that could elicit a positive emotions and feelings in us. And I kind of don't like to use the word positive because all
Mhm.
emotions are valid,
Yes.
but the good feeling ones, the ones that we enjoy. But it also could be like a friendly word from a stranger could
Mhm.
feel very dangerous and
Mhm.
because of past experiences, rather than like, oh, well, that was nice. That stranger picked up my pen that I dropped,
Mhm.
or whatever it was, is
Yeah, it
that,
really does affect how we relate to the world and how other
yeah,
people relate to us, and
yeah,
it can really impinge, like you say, like you demonstrated there, impinge on our ability to connect with each other, and that's a biological imperative, safe connection.
yeah. And
And feeling safe, having our emotions is a foundation of regulation, and
mhm.
that's a
Nice plug there. Our
yeah.
course is called Foundations of Regulation. So yeah,
And that's a
yeah.
foundation of well-being, which is the source of a good life.
Mm. And I'm just thinking how even when you're stressed, this can happen. Not maybe not on the big kind of global levels if people who are dealing with really severe trauma, but if you're stressed and something nice happens, it's like, oh, I can't deal with that. No, it's like
Mhm,
you're just expecting it to go wrong, or oh, what next, or it's just too
mhm,
much for you to take in. So I think almost all of us can recognize this kind of phenomenon on some
mhm.
level. Yeah.
I agree.
So yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Shay.
Thank you.
We do have our Foundations of Regulation course, which is the third time we're offering. It's just a 4-week course, the basics, the foundations.
Mhm.
And that starts July 19th. And I'll pop the information about that in the comments later. If anyone's interested, just get in touch. Registration is open.
Yay.
All right. Thanks, Shay.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye bye.